Hi everyone, it's Vivian. Yes, I'm back. After a 2.5 year hiatus, I decided to put my toe in the water again with podcasting on YouTube. The reason I've started today, or this year rather, is that I'm taking part on the 12 cast-ons for 22 with Angela of Yarn and Yarns. And I thought this would be a really good way to get me back into podcasting, would be to go through all the projects that I've cast on. There are 12. And then each month to come on and just give you a little update on how much I've done, whether I've finished one, what I've done, whether I've had to frog one, just all that sort of thing. So I thought this would be a really good way to get me back into doing some podcasting. So before we get into all the works, a little bit about what's happened in the last 2.5 years. I kind of lost heart in doing podcasting during 2020. I think, like a lot of people, things just weren't right and I just didn't feel up to it. We survived it. Then something really lovely happened in June 2021. Sean and I got married. And then at the beginning of 2022, we moved. So we moved from living on the outskirts of London and we now live on the Essex, Suffolk coast in a seaside town. And it's lovely. We've got a lovely little bungalow. We're close to the sea. We can go for lovely walks along the seashore and we are so privileged to be in that position. So all in all, things have turned out for the best. So for those of you that are new, I used to podcast regularly on a monthly basis, just what I've been up to, and I enjoyed it. I did enjoy it, but then, like I say, it became a bit of a chore and I lost my mojo a bit in 2020, so I stopped doing it. But I'm back now and I'm hoping that I can continue probably on a monthly basis, just especially with these cast-ons that I've done, going through what I've done. So the last little bit of admin is where you can find me. I will put down in the description box below. I'm mainly on Instagram, so that's the best place to, if you want to follow what I'm doing, because I post there quite regularly. So saying all that, getting all the admin outside and a little introduction, let's crack on. So the aim of the 12 cast-ons for 2022 is that you cast on 12 projects from Christmas Eve through to the 31st of January. And you work through those projects. So if you follow Angela on the Yarn and Yarns podcast, and I will link to it below, she rolls a dice. She's got 20-sided dice and she writes out 12 cards or so with like socks or pattern or something like that, and the dice determines which one she casts on for that day. I didn't do that. I just kind of looked through my pattern books and what I had and decided that actually today I'm going to cast on a pair of socks, whatever. So my first cast on was a pair of socks, and I actually did these on Christmas Eve, so they're technically a Christmas Eve cast on, but the first cast on of the 12 cast ons, and they are stripy socks. So these are them here. They came in a set and I'm doing them concurrently, so I've got the other one as well. And the yarn is from, I think it's Stripy Cat Yarns. I'm sure it's Stripy Cat Yarns. And it was a 50-gram sock set of this striping colour with a darker mini to go for the heels, toes and cuffs. And I'm just doing a plain sock, but what I'm actually doing, I don't know if it will show up well enough here or not, is when I change colour, I'm just doing a slip stitch every other stitch, just to give it a little bit of breakage. I've got to the stage now where I'm about to put the heels in, which is why I've kind of come to a bit of a standstill, because I'm either going to have to make a decision whether I do a short row heel or an afterthought heel, because I really want to keep the striping consistent. I don't want it broken up by a heel flap and gasset. So that's where I've got to with cast on number 1. Cast on number 2, and I've written them down here so I don't forget, is a charity cast on. So those of you that followed me back in 2018, 2019 when I used to podcast, I used to knit hats, and the hats would go in a charity box. And again, I thought this would be another way for me to really get back into doing it again, would be to do the same thing as well. So the hat that I'm doing, the first hat that I cast on was project number 2, and it is called the 3 AM cable hat. And this is where I've got to so far. So I'm just doing it. I've got plenty of drops cashmere, and I'm just doing it in that. So it's quite like I say, it's quite an easy cable to apply, and it's just working its way through. So I've got about 6 or 7 more repeats to do the cable, and I'm really enjoying that. That's quite an easy knit to remember of an evening. It's not too taxing on the brain, so I'm enjoying that one. So that was cast on number 2. Cast on number 3 is some crochet. So since we moved, I found a really lovely local crochet and knitting group that I go to on a Monday, and what we're doing for 2023 is we are crocheting 5-inch granny squares to go into a community blanket for a local care home. we're hoping between us, because there's about 18-20 of us, that we can actually crochet enough squares to do 2 or 3 blankets to donate. And I have one done so far. So this is the one that I finished. It's still slightly attached. I haven't actually finished it, but I'm just using up scraps of DK yarn and just doing a 5-inch granny square. So that will be an ongoing project throughout the year, and then towards the end of the year we will stitch them all together and then provide, donate them to the charity care home. So project number 4 is another charity hat, and this one is just going to be a straight cable, probably a 2x2 cable. The wool that I'm using is, I've got this small amount of Starcraft Special Life DK which I need to jump out of. So I'm going to do as much as a brim with that one, and then I'm probably going to alternate it with grey stripes, because I've got lots more of that drops that I was showing you earlier. So I will do a brim, maybe about 10 row brim, and then I'll just alternate each way. So just another charity hat. So that's project number 4. Project number 5, I've cast on and I've cast off. So one of the things that I've done since I moved here is I've taken up spinning. So I do 2 types of spinning. I do drop spindles, and I also have 2 electric spinning wheels. One is an Ashford and the other one is a Nano 6, an EWW6. And I'll put pictures of the Nano in here because that's the one that I'm using most at the moment. And I really enjoy it. The Nano is about that big. It's tiny. It's portable. I can take it with me. I can put it on the chair beside me. It's fantastic for that. So during the summer I span up some yarn, as you do, and I've got more and more consistent as I've gone on. I'm currently spinning a DK to worsted weight at the moment, so that's okay. I'd like to get down to a 4-ply, but DK worsted is fine. And I cast on some mittens. So I used the pattern that is Sarah's Easy Mittens, and I just kind of adjusted it to the width of the wall, really. So this is what I've made. So I have a pair, and they are absolutely lovely. So as you can see, what I did, when I first started spinning, I just bought lots of unspecified brand fibre, and all different colours. It was a rainbow, and I just spun that up to see how it comes. And I've got enough to do mittens, and I've got some left over. So like I say, it's got quite a long cuff on it, comes up to the fingers, fits nicely. And I wear these when we go for our walks along the seafront, as we try and do that every other day or so. And they are so warm. They are so lovely and warm. It's wonderful. So that was cast on number 5 and cast off number 1. Number 6. Let me take a drink. Number 6, again, is more spinning. So this one is actually spinning a set of tops that I got, again, ages ago when I first started spinning. It's like anything, when you start something new, you just keep buying everything. I keep buying fibre and all the bits and everything, but now I'm actually going to start working through my fibre during 2023. So the spinning wheel is in the other room at the moment, so I should put a picture up here of what I'm doing, and I'm hoping, I've got 200 grams of this fibre, and I'm hoping to turn it into a hat or a hat and glove matching set, depending on how thin I manage to spin it. So that again is because the little Nano is so tiny, I can actually park it on a little table next to me in the front room, and while I'm watching TV I can spin, which is absolutely fantastic. So that is project number 6. Now project number 7 is a shawl, and it's called the Nix shawl. Let me get you a picture. So this is it here. It's a shawl by Melanie Berg. Oh. Yeah, this is it here. It's a 2-colour shawl. It's lovely. It's really lovely. And this is what I've done so far. So I'm on the first colour at the moment, and I'm just doing the eyelet section. And there is a pin. Yeah. So I'm doing the eyelet section. So this is the front. Now I did have to pull this back when I first cast it on, because I didn't read the pattern properly, and I ended up with yarn overs where there shouldn't have been yarn overs, but I'm really pleased with how it's turning out so far. So that's the main colour, and that is a King Cole Merino Blend 4-ply. I've used this colour in a breathing space jumper that I knit last year, and I will put my links to my Ravelry page down below so you can see it. And I teamed that with a hand-dyed yarn from Chromatic Yarns called I Want to Stay Up for the Sunset, I think, or something like that. But this one I'm using as the second colour is going to be this lovely one here. It's got a bit messy on the Swift, as you can see. This is from Rainbow Fusions and it's called Autumn. And I think these two are going to absolutely pair beautifully together. So that is project number 7. Project number 8 is back to spinning again. And again, like I say, I've been using not just a spinning wheel, but also drop spindles. And I have quite a few of them. So the ones that I have, I've lost my fluff. So these are the spindles that I use. They're just drop spindles, and they're from a maker on Etsy called Hairy Dog Crafts. And they're 3D printed, and they are lovely. They're so lightweight, as you can see. I have a slight collection of them. And what I've spun so far, I had a bag, here it is, of multicoloured. Someone was destashing, and I just got a bag of multicoloured bumps of fluff. And what I aim to do with these is I aim to spin them all up individually on the drop spindle. So I've done a pink one so far, and I've also done a yellow one so far. And then I'm just going to ply them back on themselves so that they're, and then I'm just going to crochet them all into a granny square blanket. And that's going to be my progress of my spinning. So every time I spin something, I'm going to keep a little bit back, similar to you do with the stash when you've done knitting, and put it into a blanket. But I'm really enjoying this, and I'm also taking part in Spin 15 a day, where you do 15 minutes spinning a day, which is really helping me to practice my spinning. So I'm thoroughly enjoying these, and I really highly recommend. I'll put a link. She has an Etsy shop, and she also does beautiful fibre, and I've bought some of that recently, but it's too nice until I've really perfected my spinning to actually use it. But this is my project number 9, all up to 9 already. Right, so put these back before they all get broken. Project number 10 is some mittens, some more fingerless mittens. These are called the Owl Face mittens. Show you a picture. I'll show you a picture without any wording. Hold on a moment. You can see I'm out of practice. Should have had this prepared earlier. I know there's a page here with it on. Yeah. So that is the mittens there. So as you can see, it's got an owl on it. And I'm doing these to go with the Nick shawl as a set. So I'm using the main colour again, is the same King Cole that I'm using for the thing. And I've got some drop sable grey and a coffee colour. Then some oddments of white, red, black that you use for the other bits. This is an intarsia project, and it's knit flat, so you knit it all the way along so that you can do the intarsia bit on the front. So again, that's another one that I'm really enjoying, and as you can see, I've teamed everything. It's even living in a project bag that's got owls on it. So that is, let me just put this back, that's project number 9. Oh, we are getting running through it. So like I say, it's just a quick one just to tell you what I'm up to. So the next project I'm doing, project number 10, is called the Hawthorn, Black Hawthorn hat. Now, I first saw this Ange of Yarn and Yarns, Rainbow Ange. She test knit this, and I put it in my queue straight away. And I was like, yes, I'm definitely doing one of those. And this is it here. It's really lovely, and if you look on the project page on Ravelry of people that have done it, they've done some really wonderful colour combinations. So this time, instead of sticking with the rusty colour that I've been doing, I've gone back to my old favourite, which is purple. So I'm using, for the main colour, an opal solid in violet colourway, and so far I've done 90% of the brim. So I'm doing it with a fold up brim. You have two options. You can either do a shorter brim, or you can do what I've gone for, which is fold up brim, which is 5.5 inches of rib. And the colour that I'm going to use as the colour to go with it is this one here. And I won this in a summer long cowl that I joined in with from Ruth Love to Knit, which was across the pond shawl with Wee Shutter Monkey, I think it is. And this is from The Love of Yarn, and it's called Farmer's Fields. And I think that those two will pair really nicely together. So that's my project number 10, and I'm enjoying doing it. I think I've slowed down a bit because it's rib, and ribbing always makes you feel a bit like, ugh. But it does me anyway. I don't know. It's alright if it's on socks because it's short, but when it's on a hat, it's a little bit longer. So that's project number 10. So if you're still with me, we've only got 2 more to go. So project number 11, I thought it was probably good if I did a project for Sean, because everything seems to be for me at the moment, apart from the crochet squares and stuff like that. So I cast him on a pair of socks. Now, I don't know if anyone else has used this, but the Regia Perfect. So what it is you, as you can see, it's a way of getting a perfect matching pair of socks. So using the yellow strand, there's one in the middle and there's one on the outside. You pull the middle strand out until you get to the start of the colour, and then you knit your socks, your first sock. And so far, I've managed this much. So it's self-patterning, so you don't have to worry about changing things, and you just knit it. And what you do is you basically follow the length, and then, I mean, you can put in your heels and everything where you want, but because Sean's a size 9, this works out quite nice. So I will put the heel in where the blue is again. And then once you finish that one, you continue to pull the rest of the yarn out, and then you'll get another yellow string in the middle, and you pull that out and you start your second pair, second one rather. And once you get that, you do get an absolutely matching pair of socks. And I've used this a couple of times now. They do some really nice ones. I find them, they're really lasting as well. They last a long time. Sean's had a couple of pairs of these, and they found they're really sturdy as well. So again, this is one that will probably live in my car, and it'll be things that when I'm out and about, or if I'm having a coffee, or I'm going to knit group or something like that, I can take with it, because I can just work on it throughout the year. Because these will probably be his Christmas socks, because they've got that Christmassy vibe to them. If they wintry colours and things like that. So that's project number 11, but that will probably be a bit of a long-term project. My final project is a cowl, and this is one that I wasn't sure what to do for myself. I thought, do I do a jumper, because I've got the yarn for Love Note, and the only thing that's stopping me from doing the Love Note is a provisional cast on, and I'm not sure about the neckline on it either, whether it's too wide, and that's why I don't want to do all the patterning and then find it's too. Normally if I do a top down, I can just work out whether it's going to be a wide enough neck. So that's what I've not done at the moment. So what I decided to do in the end was to do a cowl instead. And I was just scrolling through Ravelry, and I thought, I want something a bit different. And I found this. And it's called the Treppenwörtel cowl. And I apologise if I've pronounced that incorrectly. But it's really lovely, because it's like you've got this bit here, but then you've got like a double brim here to give you extra warmth around your neck, which will be ideal for when we walk along the seafront, because it can get a bit breezy on the East Coast. So when I read the instructions, I was a bit like, oh, not sure how that's going to work. But once you get knitting it, it's actually very intuitive and quite a good way of doing it. So the yarn that I'm using is, I've got 2 balls of this. It's the West Yorkshire Spinners Zandra Rhodes collection, and this one is called Woodland Awaken. And I really like it because it's quite muted tones of rainbows with like yellows and, you know, autumny colours as well, and also bits of pink and things like that in it. So this is what I've done so far. So it might look weird, but can you see at the front there, this is how the peak of the cowl that's going to be the bit down here is actually already, yeah, I'm not sure if I've got the front or the back in the way. Yeah, so it works. I mean, it shows it on both sides, but it's like a quite clever construction on how you do it, because you read it and you think, okay, but when you actually start knitting, you think, actually, that makes perfect sense. And once you get into a rhythm of it, it's very easy to remember. So that is my final project. So that's my 12. I've already got one cast off. And like I say, some of these are quite small projects. Some of them will be long-term projects, but some of them will be finished quite quick. So that gives me still time to do things during the year. I do have a couple of jumpers that I want to do. Like I say, I've got the Love Note. I've had the yarn for the Love Note for almost 12 months now. But I just cannot decide. It's a provisional cast off that's really putting me off. But I might bite the bullet and do that. So that is everything. So thank you if you stuck with me this long. Thank you for coming back to check out what I've been up to for the last 2 years, and to have, you know, just come and see what I'm doing. I intend, like I say, to come on probably once a month. Obviously I'm mid-January now, because I think it's, what is it? Saturday the 14th. So it's mid-January now. So I'll probably do a roundup at the end of January, and then probably do it every 3 weeks, once a month, something like that. The other thing that I'm going to be doing quite a lot of this year is reading. So I should probably incorporate some of the books that I read in this podcast as well, especially if it's one that I found absolutely wonderful and I want to share with everybody. But I will also, again, continue to do that on Instagram. So all I could left to say is thank you very much. Everybody have a good month. Take care. Keep crafting, and I'll catch up with you all very soon. Thanks for watching. Bye-bye.